If you caught my last video, you know I did a review of every team in the Eastern Conference and discussing one player from each team that should be traded this season. Well, in this video, we're going to be going through every team in the West and selecting a player on the roster that needs to be traded the most on a player's current contract situation based on the direction of the team, off-court circumstances that affect the team's chemistry, all of that. And while I'm going through these, I would love to hear your thoughts on who you think should be traded from each team in the comments. As always, if you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, it would mean a great deal to me if you subscribe to help the channel grow. About 80% of you watching are not subscribed, so in return, I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, like my last video, going through the Eastern Conference teams, a few call-outs. While there are some players on a given team that should be traded for the purposes of this video, we're also going to be factoring in a player that can realistically be traded based on their value and the overall fit with the team that they currently play for. I used Ben Simmons last time as an example of a player that, yes, should be traded, but there is no way a team is going to be willing to take on Ben Simmons' contract. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into some of these. And we're going to start with the LA Clippers. For the Clippers, you have to get the sense that this is really going to be one of their last shots at trying to make a push for a title. Both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have 2 years left on their contract. Both have a player option on the final year of that deal. And given as a whole, the roster is aging with guys like Marcus Morris, Batum, Westbrook, all in their mid-30s and all on expiring contracts. This is kind of their last chance, their last season to make it work and to finally have Kawhi and PG healthy for most of the season, especially in the playoffs, which is easier said than done with those guys. But when the team is healthy, they're one of the better teams in the West and a threat for a serious playoff run when you have two of the best players in the world on your roster. That said, as far as who they should trade, kind of boring here, but Robert Covington, just based on the fact that he's on an expiring deal, have a hard time seeing them wanting to re-sign him, but he still has value as a versatile forward who can help space the floor, but also play solid defense. And if you don't have an intention on re-signing him, why lose him for nothing when you could get some assets in return? Yeah, sure, the Clippers could look to blow it up early if things aren't going well to start this season, and in that event, yeah, they should look to trade Kawhi or Paul George to extract the most value in the form of draft picks or young players, but I don't see that being a realistic option at this point. Next, let's do the Warriors, another team that is still looking to compete now and try to maximize the few years they have left of Steph Curry, still playing at an elite level and obviously still with their core of Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. But at the same time, the Warriors do still need to start thinking about their future. They traded away one of their younger players in Jordan Poole for Chris Paul. That didn't get them any younger, but we also know that the window is dwindling if they want to win now to make an all-in push for another title. So who did they trade? Well, I don't necessarily think it would be the best move for them for their future. I don't think the Warriors really care about that, so I'm going to say Jonathan Kaminga. Kaminga, very talented, super athletic. You've seen flashes of him being a great player in the NBA, but the Warriors, they aren't prioritizing his development because they want to win now, and Kaminga hasn't been good enough where you would say, yeah, this guy needs to be a key piece in the rotation for this roster. He still has a lot of aspects to his game that he needs to work on, and honestly, he would probably be best served in an environment where his development is going to be more of a focus. And for the Warriors, a 20-year-old Kaminga that still has potential, you could likely get a decent return for him on a team that is still building out a young core and in need of some size and strength. Next, let's do the Phoenix Suns. I mean, realistically, who can they even trade at this point? They're obviously not going to get rid of their core three and Kevin Durant, Booker, and Bradley Beal. And their guys off the bench are older role players that aren't going to get you much value in return in the form of a trade. So in this case, I guess a little obvious then, DeAndre Ayton. Man's been in trade rumors ever since the end of the 2021 season where he was looking for a rookie max contract extension and the Suns didn't give it to him. They wanted him to prove it and hit restricted free agency. He gets his max offer from another team in the Pacers and they match it to keep him, but really there has been so much tension between Ayton, the coaching staff, the front office ever since then. You can see it in his demeanor, his body language on the court, and the thing is, Ayton is good enough. Like, he's actually a very skilled big man for as much flack as he gets from fans in the media. He's still young, only 25, in his prime. You can package him in a big trade that could further bolster the Suns roster if they're sensing to start the season that things aren't going well with him. The fit isn't there, and they try and make an all-in push for a title, bringing in another star-level player. Next, let's do the Lakers. To be honest, I don't really know. Obviously, they're not trading LeBron or Anthony Davis. They just extended Reeves, Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell. They brought in Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish. I mean, I guess D'Angelo Russell, really because he's probably going to get you the most value in a trade compared to some of the other guys on the roster. And he's one of the few guys where I don't really like the fit as much compared to, say, Hachimura or Austin Reeves. And with both of them also being younger, it makes more sense to hold on to them for the long term. So yeah, D'Angelo Russell, if I had to choose one player that should be traded, it would be him, both from a value perspective and just a general fit with the roster. Now, before I continue with the video, a quick word from our partners at Mint Mobile. Have you ever thought, why in the world is my wireless bill so damn high? And it feels like every so often they're randomly increasing it on you. Then let me tell you about Mint Mobile, who I'm partnering with for today's video. You might already know Mint Mobile if you've seen those funny ads from Ryan Reynolds, who is the owner, but let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless service for as low as $15 per month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network, and they're able to keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? Click the link in my description or scan the QR code if you're interested in the best value in wireless. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nation talk and text, plus lightning fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Switching to Mint also, guys, is super easy. Like literally it took me 15 to 20 minutes to switch. Thanks to their digital eSIM cards, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. If your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card for free. And now, as a special limited time offer to viewers of this channel, you can get their unlimited plan, which is normally only $30 a month, for just $15 a month. That's 50% savings off their already super low price. It only takes 15 minutes to pay, as low as $15 a month for your phone plan. It really is that simple. Use my link to get started, or click the link in my description, or scan the QR code. If you've already made the switch, let me know in the comments, and thanks to Mint Mobile for partnering with me on this video. Let's do the Kings now. A great season for the Kings, although they came up short in the playoffs, but the first time that they made the playoffs in over 15 years, finished third in a stacked Western Conference. They've got a lot of great pieces, both for the now and for the future. So who should they trade? It's tough when they have a lot of great pieces, but I'm going to say Trey Lyles, just because this roster fits really well. I can't say any of the main pieces of Fox, Sabonis, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, that any of those guys should be moved. Trey Lyles is a decent player. No one is questioning that, but this is more of a who's expendable at this point on this team. And Lyles is one of them that would also get you some value in a trade, say, instead of trading someone like Alex Len. Next, let's do the Houston Rockets. I know everyone is going to think it should be Kevin Porter Jr., given the recent developments around his alleged domestic violence, but no, it's not Kevin Porter Jr., because who in their right mind would actually trade for this guy when he's likely just going to be suspended for the season, if not permanently, with how serious some of these allegations have been. So no, on Kevin Porter Jr., that's not going to be the person. The Rockets are going to be forced to waive him. Instead, I'm going to go with Jae'Sean Tate, really because the Rockets just drafted Amen Thompson, who I think is going to be the future guy they start building around, a great wing player. And Tate, kind of an undersized wing, sometimes plays power forward. He's 27. He's sort of the odd man out here as it relates to the Rockets rebuild, with 2 years left on his deal and a team option on the final year. Trade him while you can get some value right now. How about the Grizzlies? And no, I'm not going to say Ja. I'm going to go with Zaire Williams, which I know is kind of a boring answer, but he's more expendable than most of the guys on the roster. Hasn't really been getting a lot of playing time, but he's also had issues with injuries. But because he's young, just turned 22, he was a highly touted prospect coming out of high school, a top 10 pick in the 2021 draft. So you would think there would be some intrigue from teams hoping to get a player that just needs a new scene with a lot of upside potential. On to the Dallas Mavericks now. Really the guy that is going to make the most sense for them to trade, I just don't know how realistic it is to move him, is Tim Hardaway Jr. He's getting paid quite a bit of money for a pretty inefficient player who is now on the wrong side of 30. But maybe there is a team out there that is going to be in need of some added scoring, offensive firepower. And Hardaway, I mean, he is a streaky player and can get hot in a hurry, but for me, I just don't see Hardaway being in the Mavs' long-term plans. Let's do the Spurs. For the Spurs, they tanked, they got their prize, the once-in-a-generation level talent, Victor Wembanyama. But even after landing Wemby, the team is still building for the future, focusing on the youth movement. And while there are a few guys who don't really fit the overall timeline of the roster, guys like Doug McDermott, Reggie Bullock, Kem Birch, the guy I think they should be trading the most this season is Devontae Graham. Graham was moved to the Spurs at the deadline this past season. You almost kind of forgot that Devontae Graham was supposed to be the Pelicans' big signing of the 2021 free agency as a restricted free agent, and they moved moved on from him for parts, as he just really ended up not becoming the player that they thought he would be. He was okay in the few games that he played for the Spurs after the trade, but he's not part of the Spurs plan. He's got 2 years left on his deal. The second year is only partially guaranteed, so it would be wise for the Spurs to move on, even if it means only obtaining a second-round pick to add to their arsenal of picks they've already been able to amass from various trades. Speaking of the Pelicans, though, who should they be trading? I think the guy that makes the most sense is Jonas Valanciunas. He's the oldest player on that roster right now behind CJ McCollum, who are both only 31, by the way. But for the Pelicans and their overall timeline, trying to build around Zion if he can ever stay healthy. And with Valanciunas going into the season on an expiring contract, can't see the Pelicans extending him beyond this season. And for a player like Valanciunas, who is actually very underrated in terms of his overall productivity as a big man, he can get you a double-double on a nightly basis, efficient score in the post. It might be a stretch, but I think the Pelicans could get a protected first-round pick for him, even on an expiring deal. How about the defending champion Denver Nuggets? I mean, when a team just wins the title, things are going well, and there aren't really guys that you should be calling to get traded. And really, when I look up and down the roster, the only name you can really throw out there is DeAndre Jordan, simply because he's on an expiring contract, he's 35, well past his prime, most nights not even in the rotation. Package him in some kind of deal, which isn't going to get you much of anything, but really, who else should you be trading on this roster? I honestly can't think of anybody. Let's do the Thunder, a team with loads of young talent, a ton of draft capital. This team is going to be scary good in a few years. Easy one here, but it's going to be kind of a hard one to move him, is Davis Bertans. They acquired him in that trade deal with the Mavs for Derek Lively. Bertans got that insane contract from the Wizards a few years back because he was shooting threes at a high clip and then just completely fell off after getting paid. He's obviously not part of the Thunder's plans. Oldest player on the roster, he's only 30, which is insane, speaks to just how young this team is. But yeah, Bertans is the guy that needs to get moved for the Thunder. Let's do the Utah Jazz, another rebuilding team, although Lauri Markkanen won way too many games for them last year when they were attempting to all-out tank for Wembanyama. Now, I would have said Jordan Clarkson, but they just extended him, which I thought was a little odd because he doesn't fit their timeline. They probably could have gotten some good value for him in a trade, but that's probably out at this point, so I'm going to say Kelly Olynyk. The Jazz have enough big men as it is. Olynyk is on the last year of his deal. It's only partially guaranteed. Now, they could just waive him and choose not to fully guarantee the deal, or they pick it up and they move him to a team that actually needs a backup big. He's still an okay player, by the way, but not a fit for the Jazz and the direction that they're taking. Let's do the Blazers. I mean, I don't even think I need to say it at this point, but yeah, you probably should trade your franchise player who's requested a trade, is on a high dollar contract, and can get you a massive haul in return. Shed all that salary, acquire a bunch of picks and young players, start fresh and start rebuilding. And yes, of course, I'm talking about Damian Lillard. And then let's close it out with the Timberwolves to take us home. While I want to be bold and throw out a hot take of a name that they should trade like Karl Anthony Towns, at the end of the day, I think we all know that's not going to happen. They probably should trade Rudy Gobert, cut their losses, and see if they can regroup even just one first-round pick of the 4 first-round picks they lost in that trade deal. Technically 5 if you include Walker Kessler, but they're not going to admit defeat just like that after one season. So boring answer here, Kyle Anderson. Expiring contract was okay for the Wolves, but nothing to write home about except for riling up Gobert to get him to punch him in the face on the sideline for the world to see. But Anderson is a decent enough of a shooter, fairly team-friendly salary for the final year of his contract. There will be some teams out there looking for a solid defensive wing that can shoot, and if the Wolves aren't looking to re-sign him, yeah, might as well trade him while you can get some value in return. So there you have it, one player for every Western Conference team that should be traded. Will they actually get traded? That's a different story, but let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.